here. So they started looping these liquor bottles out. You could see the liquor. Splash. You had a brown thing on the ice from the liquor. The president of the CAHA was at the game, being a big final. So the two referees were from Montreal, Leo Murray and Dean Bennett. I said to the guy, I was agitated, what are you going to do about it? Because I knew him from Montreal. What are you going to do about it? I said, you're not going to let them get away with this. Fortunately, the president of the CHA had the had the responsibility, and he called the game off. So we won the third game, in a way, by default, but not exactly default. But the first two periods, Moose Jaw were giving us a hang of a run for our money. But like I told you before, in the third period, our river skaters started going. And we started to go. And I think the score, without looking in the newspaper, was 4-1 when it was called off. But at one time, Moose Jaw was even with us. So that was all the more reason why the drunks were really mad. Because they thought they were going to win a game in Regina, which didn't happen. The fourth game was again in Regina. There was no liquor there. It was pretty tranquil. I think we won about 4-1. But the interesting part was that the Regina people, we were at the Regina Hotel, and they came to us, apologizing, this is funny to me anyway, apologizing for the conduct of those ruffian Moose Jaw people who live up the road. And it would never be Regina fans that would ever do that. Well, we already knew it because where the liquor was coming from, they were all out in their Moose Jaw colors. Obvious who was throwing the liquor. But they just wanted to make sure they were not involved in anything to do. So that was the Regina people. So that's how we won the Memorial Cup in Regina. We had a tranquil train back, no airplanes. Took 2 nights and a day, I think, from Winnipeg. We had a great reception. They closed St. Mike's for the Friday. The mayor was out there, and I got pictures in there. And ironically, one of the few remaining members of our club of that year was Red Kelly, and he was sitting in the car beside me in the cavalcade coming up from the station on Yonge Street up to the City Hall. And so that was the story in skeleton form, you might say, of the 4-game series, which was 4 out of 7. We won 4 straight. It was the best team we played that year was Oshawa Generals, not Moose Jaw. Oshawa Generals were coached by Charlie Conacher, who was a line mate of Joe Primo on the kid line of Jackson, Conacher, and Primo. And when Conacher coached Oshawa in the Maple Leaf Gardens, I have never heard such a foul mouth coming out of a coach in my life. It was terrible. And W.A. Hewitt, who was a Foster Hewitt, was sitting in the reserve box right behind Charlie Conacher, and that didn't stop him from cursing and swearing. Now, my folks, friends, we have passed long 20. You've got 2 choices, and I don't want to influence you, but I'll be glad to do either that you wish. I could tell you the story of the water bucket. This is not purposely hilarious, but it turned out to be the most hilarious thing that happened to me and about 10 other of my teammates on the Irish Flat. I would say about February. Okay. Oh, I love telling this story. Oh, and I think you'll love it too. Because there's some poetic justice not, I hate to say it, but if not godly justice in this story. I hate to say that, but it's the only way I can put it. On the Irish flat, do any of you older people know what a transom is? A transom, T-R-A-N-S-O-N. Speak out, everybody can be wrong. Don't worry. If you don't know, I'll tell you, but you know? You don't know. Okay. The ceilings in St. Mike's, old school, 1905, it was built down there on Bay, must be at least 10 feet high, and you had, let's say, a 7-foot door, and on the top you had the transom, which was a 2-foot glass that had a piece of brass coming down that you could push up or down to let the air circulate through the transom and have your door closed. And, you know, I think some of the rooms didn't have windows, so we depended on air from the hallways to come through the transom to breathe or have better air. So, because at that time, Friday night, when we practiced at Ravenna Gardens out west in Toronto, the American Basketball Association was just starting in 1947, and they had a playing coach, Ed Sadowski. He didn't look as big or as mean as some of the guys in basketball today, but he looked pretty mean. And he was playing coach, so that gives you an indication that the league was on a shoestring when you got the guy doing 2 positions for salary. So they played every Friday night, so we could not practice at the Garden, so we went to Ravenna Gardens out west to practice. So, and we practiced at 5. Well, dinner was served at commissary at 6. Well, there's no way we could practice, shower, get back for 6. So, in your book, anybody still have a Thurible of 1947? I have. And in here, there's an ad, Perry's. And Perry's was where we went for dinner because we were too late for the school. And any guess what money they gave us for supper? I won't bother. $1. So we get chicken sandwich, a few French fries, and maybe a rice pudding for $1. Oh no, 79 or 89 cents. But as I mentioned, Fleming McKell did not live at the college. I think he lived with a fellow who played 2 years earlier called Johnny Blue in East Toronto. And as I said, McKell always seemed to have more money. He seemed to eat more, and oftentimes he was at odds with some of the players for different reasons. So we go to Perry's, and McKell too. We take the Bloor streetcar, no taxi or anything like that. The equipment was carried by taxi, I believe. So we go into Perry's, we eat. But McKell eats more than we eat. So he takes longer. So we come back to the Irish flat at, let's say, 6:45. We decide, about 7 or 8 of us of the team, we're going to fix this McKell. We had enough of his nonsense in the dressing room after practice. It was all in good fun in a way. We were teammates. But there was also a bit of aggravation in there. And of course, McKell's still feeding his face over at the restaurant because he eats more. He had more money. So we decided the best way to do this, we would get a bucket. Now, there were no plastic buckets in those days, only hard metal galvanized buckets. So we attached strings to it. We opened the door so wide, put no water, put the bucket up and had a test run with the strings. So guy opened it. It worked beautifully. If you figure we were engineers. I mean, it was, and if we knew the end story, we knew we were. But I'll tell you the end story. So, McCreevy, down at the end, he was a flat master. I don't know if he ever became a bazillion. I think he was aiming for popehood, because that's the way he treated us, like a bunch of serfs. And he, when it come prayer time at 7, he had on the beautiful black cassock, the beautiful white collar. But his hair was thinning, and he combed it back to cover the middle. It was so obvious, you know. It's almost like a Donald Trump. And you don't have to be 84 to realize what's going on. We were 18 and we knew. So when we came in, the bathroom was in the middle of the Irish flat. It was Mr. McCreevy, Red Kelly's room, my room, the bathroom, and 2 or 3 other bedrooms. Well, of course, McCreevy hears us coming, you know, after you eat, you go to the bathroom. So we go into the bathroom, and sure enough, McCreevy opens the bathroom door. Come on, it's, you know, it's study time, 7 o'clock. And after that, it's not mass, but prayer time, 8 o'clock. Well, we're about 7:30. So he's already getting in our hair, and he knows we've just been practicing, we're tired, and all that, but that didn't matter to him. I think he was going for a popehood. At any rate, so he's already down, and then he goes back. So we all go back down, and we know our bucket's working. Now we're waiting for Mikkel. So we fill the bucket quite full with water, cold water. We hear coming up the stairs, only Mikkel. Mikkel is heard by Mr. McCreevy. Mikkel goes into the mid-bathroom. McCreevy hears all this noise, and he's trying to quieten the noise. He doesn't know Mikkel's there. He just hears the noise. So he comes down. I still see it, just like Technicolor. If I had had a video camera, I would have made 1 million hits on television. Mr. McCreevy, we don't know. We're all in the room. The bucket's in place. The door is 6 inches open, holding the bucket. Mr. McCreevy, from his side of the door, we don't see, he pushes open the door, and guess what? You don't have to guess. The mechanical engineered door bucket works beautifully. It does a half turn in the air, like a circus performer. It hits him full on the head, all the water, messes up his cassock and his white collar, is combed down, comes down. You're laughing, and we're supposed to be in the room and not laugh. And his comb over comes down and hides his nose. You know, we're going. There were 7 or 8 of us. Pretty hard to quieten down 7 or 8 guys who see that happen. And so McCreevy, this is where Father Regan comes in again. McCreevy says, You'll all be down to see Father Regan in the morning. That's the second time. The first time was my football game. That's the beginning and the end of Father Regan. Meanwhile, of course, McCreevy doesn't know what's happening, so he goes back in a huff, obviously. And Mikkel's all this time in the bathroom. So he comes out of the bathroom. He knows we're all down in the end room. The bucket is being spilled. He sees the water. He said, what happened? He missed the whole show, which was aimed for him. So that was the most hilarious thing that happened.
Don't forget the wake-up part, McCreevy and the wake-up.
Oh, yes. I mentioned to you, there's maybe some poetic justice, or maybe some godly justice. When I dare to use the word, but when we came back from a late trip, it didn't matter when, there was always Mass at 7. We came back from Stratford sometime. We used to stop at a place, I don't know if it's still, I think it's still there, called Clapperson's Corners. Yeah. Okay? We used to stop there halfway from a place such as Stratford. So we probably didn't get home till 3 o'clock. So the guys go to bed at 3 o'clock. They take the chair, turn it, and jam it against the big door, because for sure McCreevy is going to come in that door and shake you, even if you only had 1 hour's sleep. I mean, he was a very, very kindly priest to be. Forget it. So what did he do? Nice guy. He had his own little water trick. He'd throw the water through the transom and try to hit you in the bed because he couldn't get in the door. So that's my poetic justice. Water to water. You know, baptism, water to water. Moses crossed the sea with water. So this was sort of the Red Sea and Moses and all the whole thing. But it was Mr. McCreevy involved, and I don't know if he ever became a Brazilian or not. But it would be interesting from your records if, and his older brother played for the New York Americans in the last year when they were in the NHL, which was 1941. So, just to conclude, I want to thank the ladies that helped me. I want to thank you people for being patient. I came with one thing in mind, an appreciation for having been a student at St. Mike's, for what they helped me do, for the comradeship I had with the players, and sadly, there's only 5 left, of which Red Kelly, I think, is okay. Ed Sadburn seemed to be okay. I hope I'm okay. And the other 2, Warren Winslow, who is a lawyer in Montreal, is definitely having trouble mentally. Ray Hannigan, I think, is fine out in Arizona as a priest. And I hope that I'm paying tribute to the team and those who have passed away, and those that are living, the few that are there. And through it all, my whole aim was to pass something on to the school that the school will have in their archives and can put down before I pass on. So I thank you.
Thank you.
I thought there was some kind of connection.
Let's hear it again for Mr. Harvey. Thank you very much. And from one goaler to another, my son Mark has a presentation on behalf of the team.
On behalf of the Bakers, Mr. Harvey and the Harvey family, thank you for being here tonight and speaking. The token of appreciation, we'd like to present you with this gift.
Mark, you always have a chance to change your vocation in hockey.
Harvey was your principal?
Yes.
He came here, he brought the school here.
He did he?
Yeah. And he was, I think he died of a heart attack shortly after.
He was a nice man.
But he was the principal. Brought the
Oh, yeah, he
I
was
saw
a
his
nice.
picture, it was about 14 years he was the principal, which is fairly long compared to the previous ones.
I had a court case before him, and